Great job, Joseph. That was so much fun.
Guys.
Great job, Joseph.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's you. Mute yourself, would you?
Hello, Bob Farnham on mute.
I'm muted.
Maybe Bob's not on mute. Maybe I'm on mute.
You're on mute.
Boom.
No. Boom.
It was going through my Yeti.
Ah.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, I've had that. I got one of those Yetis as well. For about 2 weeks, I couldn't work out why I couldn't hear anything, and then I went into the preferences.
Yeah, because it's sending it to the Yeti, and then at the bottom of the Yeti, you've got the ability to have some kind of like earpiece or feedback.
So that you can hear yourself.
Yeah. If you choose,
that's the only reason I wear these headphones, is so I can hear myself and make sure that the audio is set to the right, gain and all that stuff. But
so there was a lot of interesting stuff. Bob, you asked a question. You want to still ask that question?
That'd be great.
Then ask it.
I forgot what it was. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So I think it was Mark that said, marketers have this opportunity to work. Well, I think the opportunity is there for marketers who have some experience in all this to reach out somehow to the small businesses. And I know tons of them here in Vermont. I mean, that's what it is small businesses. And the struggle is they just don't see the opportunity. And so I just feel a responsibility to figure out how to communicate with them in a way where they can get it, where they have the epiphany and go, this is what I need to do.
It's always a red flag for me whenever I hear the word convince. It's just like, okay, I'm not sure I want to be part of that. One thing that I've done, Bob, and maybe this is something you can do as well for people who are interested. I've got this thing on my site where anybody can sign up for an hour of my time for $200. I haven't changed the price in 10 years because I'm not trying to make money. It's just like $200. You should be able to afford $200. This is for people who want to pick my brain, right? I'll say, sure, go to this site. And if they're really serious about it and they really value my time, and I've been able to help so many businesses all around the world. I mean, because you can get a lot done in an hour. And it's become a real fun intellectual challenge for me. But I also feel in a way it's giving back because, it's just, I normally don't work with small businesses. But this is a chance for anybody to just kind of, pick my brain and get some direction. And it's worked out really well.
Do you have a system where what you do in that hour, or do you
a little bit
go with the flow of it? No, okay.
A little bit. And the reason why it's hard to systematize it is because it's so diverse.
Right.
But what I usually start out by saying is, if you and I had a conversation 1 year from now, and you said, oh, Mark, that conversation we had, that 1 hour call was the best thing that ever happened, what would have happened? And sometimes they haven't even thought about that, but it makes them think about what is the issue? What is the problem that needs to be solved? And then I usually I want to hear their story about how they got to where they are, to kind of see where's the fit and where's the passion, where's the disconnect. And that's really just, I got to study under Peter Drucker for a few years, and he always told us, great leadership isn't having all the right answers. Great leadership is asking the right questions. And that is always the case in this scenario, where you just have to ask the question. They probably know the answer, but no one's just asking them the right question.
Yeah, and how many of us get a block that's not even real? It's just something in our head, either something our father said or something that happened in the past that makes moving beyond that block really, really hard. Having questions asked that evokes the answers, that likely most of us probably already have those answers.
90% of the 90% of the time.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
90% of the time, they tell me the answer.
Yeah.
It's like the hero's journey, right? Where like I feel when you get that guide, you know, they will then kind of like take you to where you were supposed to go. Because, you know, one of the things like you're just alluding to, Bob, is that, you know, your mind, you get yourself into your own way, right? So if you think about like, you know, you have the talent, you have the ability, you have the capability to accomplish anything, but you yourself can be your worst enemy. And then when you talk to a person like Mark or some of the great marketers here, they can then help remove that veil to then enable you to achieve that heroic identity that you were always meant to reach.
Yeah, subconscious taming is very on trend.
I think especially now, right, with the pandemic and being holed up in your homes, and
Yeah,
for most of us, I assume we're able to work from a home studio or office or something, and it's hard to make those connections that, you know, I mean, yes, this all works, and I do feel connected. David's comment about us all being 4 feet apart, I have shared with others to remind them that this is as close as we can really get. And yeah, it's not in happenstance that we happen to bump into each other at the, you know, in the halls at the State House or something like that. A lot of the politicians that I work with, they're complaining about not having the ability to connect with people in a happenstance kind of way.
To ignore reporters, you know, to walk right past them into the elevator.
Right, exactly. So
I have
yeah.
something to share.
Okay,
Bob
so please
will appreciate this, as I'm sure many of you will. So in 2021, we're off the grid. Like, see ya, bye. We're going totally solar. So we're doing our own green.
Oh, good for you. Congratulations. That's great.
Yes. Super stoked. And we're growing our own hydroponic lettuce. It's lovely.
How about composting? Have you started composting?
No, not yet.
It's easier than you think, and it doesn't smell. So
it's not Christmas every day with you. It's Earth Day every day. I think.
Yeah,
sure.
no.
There's some in Melbourne. There's a little bit of a trend at the moment where there are some houses that they're building, instead of putting foundations underneath, you know, the house when they build it. These houses are built with no foundation; they're just plonked on a slab. But then the roof is the garden.
Wow.
Cool.
And because of the weight of the soil and everything, that's what keeps the house on the ground. And so they're able to, you know, people that would normally only have like a small house or an apartment and couldn't grow vegetables or whatever, now they're building these smaller houses. They can pack them closer together, and everyone's garden's on the roof.
And you've got the insulating value of having that earth up there, you know, so it's great.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So you got to ask your question. Now there were a lot of interesting threads and common threads. Clearly a real one with respect to humanity, but also these tensions, right, between technology, humanity, physical, virtual. You know, I mean, there's so much there. These are obviously topics I've been thinking about. Guests have been talking about what that new normal looks like. Anyone want to kind of build on that, or, you know, like Joey, Jen, I'm just seeing some of the people that are here as well. Mr. Tom Morris, when he's quiet, that generally means either it was really good or really bad. So that's my way of.
Hey, guys! I'm sorry. I've been here, but I haven't been here. I've been in and out in the room because I've got to help a bunch of high school students in Las Vegas in 5 minutes get wise. So I've been preparing things for them as I listen in. I've just been a fly on the wall. You guys did great today.
Fantastic, Tom. Good luck,
Tom.
So I'm still here. I'm still listening, and I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
I don't get him, Professor.
I caught him unawares. So, You
Well,
guys
I think
all-
the Facebook discussion was pretty interesting. I think that I like seeing the opposing views on this. And as someone like you, Joseph, who helped create this monster in the advertising world, I do believe, and this is why I commented on Faith and her comments, is that it is about personal responsibility. And as you guys know, who've listened to me, I have a lot of friends on Facebook that are Trumpers. I grew up in rural Minnesota, Northern California. I am the outlier with all the friends I went to high school with. And people from my friends from New York and my friends from San Francisco ask me all the time, they DM me, why do you put up with these people? Why do you put up with these people? And I'm like, I love these people. And my mom voted for Trump. And there's a whole bunch of things going on. And you talked about this, Joseph. If you let everyone outside your circle go because they have different opinions, my mom's not a racist. She's not a bigot. She's a little Mexican who was adopted. And because of that, she's a single issue voter. So she thinks Mr. Trump is a reprehensible human being, but she didn't want someone that was pro-choice. That was it. And all my mom's little friends from her Catholic church felt the same way. So I think the thing about Facebook, they obviously have some huge issues, right? Everything about our society is money. So Facebook is no different than Amazon. It is no different than Google. It was no different than Microsoft in the day. It's all about what we do with it as consumers. And Amazon is another example. My wife uses Amazon Prime all the time, specifically now in the pandemic. We have not been to a grocery store. We are fortunate. We're financially fortunate. We can work from home. We can do all these different pieces. I ordered something from a direct-to-consumer product 2 or 3 times this year because I thought it was cool, and I bought it on Facebook. And then when you get it and it's not what you thought it was, or the size is off, you now have to print out a label. You have to go get a box. You have to take it to UPS. And you're like, I'm not doing that. I mean, so Amazon is evil. Got it. Facebook is evil. Got it. But everyone, and this is why I love people on Facebook. I love my experiences on Facebook. Yes, the algorithms are bad. Yes, all they care about is money. I'm not sure if Mark Zuckerberg cares at all about what he's doing, but none of that really affects the fact that it is about personal responsibility. If you're looking at a site and someone posts some dog shit article from QAnon and you believe it, well, then you're an idiot. And that's part of you being an idiot. And you have to take personal responsibility for being an idiot. And I think that's kind of where, and I call my friends out all the time on this stuff. They'll post garbage and I'm like, dude, come on. You know that's crap. And then they'll like, yeah. And then sometimes they'll DM me and say, yeah, you're right, dude. My dad's in the military. I really should think about this. And I'm like, exactly. I love you, but don't post that crap. You're just too good of a person for that.
Hey, Joey.
I think it. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say, I just wanted to say goodbye to David. He has to leave like now, right, David?
Yeah, unfortunately, I need to bolt. But thanks very much, everyone. It's been a great conversation.
Great having you back, David.
Thanks for your contribution.
Cheers, David.
Thanks, David.
On the show. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
I just posted, by the way, didn't mean to interrupt you, but I saw in the news actually several over the last couple of days. I mean, this thing that says Amazon generated an estimated 465 million pounds of air pillows, bubble wrap, and other plastic packaging waste in 2019. I mean, it's another battle, right? But look, inevitably what is going to happen with these large companies, by the way, so let me just take a small step back. It's become like a political, they talk about the weaponization or whatever. It's become a political, what do they call it? A talking point now, this idea of big tech. And it's ironic where it's coming from. But I think the inevitability is that these companies cannot keep growing and will have to shrink or be broken up. And that is just where it's going. Sorry, what?
Yeah, I was going to say 2 things. So the first thing is, I'm with Joey about personal responsibility, because let's say you take a cell phone, for example, right? It's your choice how you use it. Some people can use it to read the Bible. Some people can use it to call their mom. Some people can use it to watch pornography or do other things. It's really up to you. The device itself, it's a tool. And then you can choose to abuse it, or you can use it to do, something that's productive. So when you look at things like, let's say, Facebook and all these things, these are tools that with whatever tool you use, you need to learn how to understand it, like how it works. You need to know the limits, you need to know the pros and the cons, because any tool is like that. You get into a car, if you drive 250 miles an hour, what's going to happen, right? You're going to die, most likely, and you're going to kill people. So that's point number one. I think we should all understand, yes, there's the algorithm, it has its pros and its cons, but you as an individual, you need to understand how you should use it within the context of what you believe. And then the second thing about the statistics of, Amazon around the waste, I think we should always balance the conversation and look at it both sides. So yes, 465 million pounds of, waste and whatnot to the environment. But if those goods had to be delivered to the stores, if you had calculate the amount of pollution for the alternative as well, because then now you look at it to say okay, Amazon did 465 million pounds of plastic and stuff. But if Amazon wasn't there and those same goods had to be taken to the consumer, what type of effect would the environment have seen using other means, right? So then it's kind of like you want to quickly identify what is the net effect rather than just looking at it from a one-sided.
But you're also comparing, I think you're comparing online apples to online apples as opposed to online apples to small business in-person oranges.
Well, what I just gave was an example, but what I'm saying is that whenever you're doing these types of reports, I think you need to be, looking at everything to say okay, this is what they did and this was the impact.
But you understand what I'm saying is, I think your point, which is taken, is if you're comparing efficiency with respect to Amazon doing online versus somebody else doing online, it's game over. It's not even a comparison. But I think, you spoke about small, I mean, Bob was asking about small businesses. You're a small business. How do you compete when you've got a local toy store in a small town begging people to come into the toy store and buy a gift there versus just one-click ordering on Amazon?
Well, it's you have to be subjective to that, right? You need to look into your small business and see what to do. So let's say for me, for example, I not only do I compete with Amazon, but I also benefit from Amazon, right? I put my products and I sell on Amazon. I have inventory in their FBA warehouses right now. So it now becomes kind of like an isolated case where you need to evaluate for your specific business, how do you need to adapt and exist within all of these things that are happening, right? Because it was the same case with mom and pop restaurants when McDonald's came around. They had to figure out how are they going to exist. There's one thing that's always constant for us, and it's change, right? There'll always be change. So as a business, small or large, you always need to be thinking about how do you evolve and survive as change comes to your door.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add to that, Joe, is this idea that because I'm in business, therefore you ought to buy from me. You know what I mean? It's sort of like we have a responsibility to be good humans, but we don't have to be responsible for all humans. So if you have a mom and pop, store that you sell toys, then you need to do the very, very important work to find out your unique value proposition, find out why you are uniquely qualified to satisfy my toy giving needs. And if it's about handcrafted and made local and with care and with the maple and the whatever, find that, go talk to that and go find those people for whom handcrafted toys are the most important thing, or made on the same street that I live is really important. But it's not to say, oh, well, look bad Amazon because they've got this whole system, wired from, the tip of your finger to the door. It's just, right.
I'm enjoying the pushback and the counterpoints between the whole group.
I have to go, guys. Take care.
Bye,
Okay,
so Peter just throws the bomb and then he's like, gotta go, guys. Bye. Enjoy the conversation about online. But it's interesting, starting from what Joey said with respect to personal responsibility. The only caveat to what Faith said and what Joey said is you know, there are a lot of people going, "Hey, everybody, I'm leaving Facebook. Bye." You know, like,
Right.
you know, look at me protest. You know, I'm going to take down the machine by basically deciding to just use Instagram, and Messenger, which
they
or
own.
Facebook as well. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right. I mean, everyone is right with what they're saying. I think it's just more of a.
I want to add something,
Yeah.
if I could, just because something.
You're going to counter the counter of the counterpoint.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's
Yes.
exactly what it is. You read the room. So, you know, I take personal responsibility for my presence on social media. And if things get too toxic in places, I can, you know, block people because life's too short for that. But what I also look at this is that it's kind of like the opioid crisis. I could take a responsibility for not getting hooked on drugs. But if everybody around me is hooked on drugs, it creates a toxic society and I am endangered. And in 2019, Facebook was a utility. In 2020, Facebook is our heartbeat. The internet is our heartbeat. It's the only way we can see people. It's the only way we can buy things in a lot of respects. And I think that you know, we can take our own personal responsibility, but I don't think we can hang everything on that, because if this is a petri dish for toxicity that endangers, you know, it could be a petri dish for violence, you know, and there we've seen the evidence that a lot of the algorithms, well, I think I saw the statistic, 60% of the membership of extreme hate groups on Facebook, the people got there from a recommendation engine from Facebook. So while we can take our own responsibility, we also have to be aware there's something going on here in greater society that eventually could endanger the society we love and maybe even our own, you know, personal well-being.
But I think that's been, you know, I think that's been going on forever. I mean, if you think about the plight of the African American in this country, and when the KKK run rampant, it's no different, right? We still had to figure out who we are as individuals, and I can't be responsible for what this person takes in from Facebook and then decides, yes, I'm going to, you know, go shoot up this building, but for me, the problem always has been, how do we get this person to become an active member of society with rational thinking, that even if you did see this QAnon stuff, even if you did see this KKK stuff, even if you did see this, like, oh, you know, I saw this gentleman on somebody was interviewing different people when, you know, Barack Obama became president, and he was like, oh, that nigger, he's never going to be my president. I mean, that's not the internet. That's not fake. That has to be there, and it then gets exacerbated. But my point is, rather than say, you know, it's sort of like, don't shoot the messenger. Rather than say, oh, it's the Facebook algorithm, it's sort of like, who are you as a human being?
Oh, I agree 100%.
The message.
I mean, I agree 100%.
Right?
But part of the dynamic here is there's no shared reality. So let's say when I was a kid, you had 3 network TV shows and a daily newspaper, basically, and we had the fairness doctrine, right? So when you saw something on TV, they had to present both sides.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
Okay, all that's gone. And so now there's no shared reality. There's no shared conversation. Everybody's finding, you know, their own toxic rooms, surrounding themselves with toxic people, and that becomes a reality. So it's hard to even relate or have a conversation. It's not that these people are stupid or dumb. It's that they really believe what you think is impossible, because everything they see supports their worldview. That's something new. That's only happened in the last 20 years.
Yeah,
I'll give you that, but I think to Faye's point. Oh, go ahead, Ian.
No, I was just saying, just to build on what Mark said there as well. It's I think, you know, someone said earlier on, talking about, you know, the you know, personal data being the currency or whatever, but it's not. It's attention, and you know, what the likes of Facebook and Instagram, you know, they're very good at at attracting attention, right? Because they work in tune with humans. I mean, you just look at Instagram, it's basically a huge competition for attention between people, right? Look at me, for this, look at my lunch, look at my workout routine or whatever. And that's what these platforms, play to. So it's not that the algorithm's evil, it's worked out how to get attention, and it keeps going at it. But I think the more kind of distressing point is how that has spilled over into all other media as well. Like, I can't watch TV news because it doesn't seem to be objective, because you've got news from a right-wing point of view, news from the left-wing point of view, and Mark's saying, where's the truth? I don't know, because it's not in the mainstream news, it's not in social media, and it's very tiring to have to be skeptical of everything that you hear from any source. So.
And here in the States, we have, our local TV stations, 9 times out of 10 are owned by one conglomerate. All across, there's like 650 stations across the country that say that they're your local news, but they're reading the same script that all the other stations are reading. And so even that makes it hard to decipher what is real. And so you have to keep digging down, I think, more and more local. And I think that as the coming year unfolds, it'll be our responsibility to I feel a responsibility to get a grasp of really what's going on in the field.
Right.
And
that's an example of how deep it is.
Those.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's not just a Facebook issue. It really has a lot to do with Sinclair Media, to your point, Bob.
Yeah.
They'll have scripted pieces all the way across their network, and they all agree with what they do. And so where do you draw the line? Because I have a lot of friends at Facebook, and we've had these discussions, like, who actually says what should be published? Who actually agrees? Where is the filter? Who is the decider, right, of what is good and what is bad? So that's where I get that they're like, we can't actually act as an arbiter of information on our platform, because then that's not our intent. That wasn't how we actually built this free, which means if we don't have a product that we're charging for, you are the product. And you signed up for that. And so that's how it works. And there is no way to govern that in the sense of, this is true. They can now flag stuff that says this is just completely outlandish, right? It's fine. But I think you do your own homework.
I just want to make one comment about this is one of those things, like, once I tell you this, you will never be able to unhear this concept again, which is count how many times you hear the phrase "I think" when you're watching CNN or Fox or any of those.
Commentary, it's not news.
But just how many times they actually say "I think," versus "I know," versus "here's what the facts say." And one of the things, I mean, most of you have heard this through the show, but I said this very early into this whole CoronaTV experience, which is, I kind of long for the days, growing up in South Africa, where you had the Cape Times in the morning and the Cape Argus in the afternoon. You had the newspaper in the morning, the newspaper in the afternoon. There was no internet. Maybe you had 2 television programs for the news. We never even had the news at 1 p.m. It was maybe like at 6 and 10. But the fact that there were very formalized, staggered, considered ways to broadcast and share the news that were delivered by professionals, or at least people that had some kind of credentials, and that's the challenge, right? They are learned people, whether they're scientists, professors, subject matter experts, PhDs, journalists, and they have been swallowed. I mean, listen, I rejoiced in this thing called the blog, that allowed everyone to have a voice. And now, by the way, when I'm editing my social media course that I'm going to be teaching starting in a few weeks, this is someone's course, like, it's first time I didn't write the course, so I'm actually teaching the course. And I'm looking at module 1 and it says blogs. And I'm like, I don't think that exists anymore. Like, by the way, I was like, I don't think, seriously, one of the modules, one of the whole lessons is on blogs. I think blogs are dead. What's next? Websites. I'm like, no, dead as well. What else you got there? You know? So, I mean, I'm like, where's the chapter on TikTok, by the way? But you know, there was a little bit of just verbal diarrhea. But I think, you know, the thing is, things come full circle. And ironically, the pendulum has to swing back. And I think we're all living and recognizing that there is going to be some kind of backlash or counter trend or return. Or maybe I'm completely wrong and that ship is just so far gone and sailed.
Well, I think the media is a great example. It's too big to get your arms around. If you watch MSNBC, you get the left. If you watch Fox, you get the right. So that's not a job of Facebook. And I think the other point is if someone shows you who they are, believe them. And that's been the coolest thing for me about, if I have friends that like Trump, I'm not going to dump them. But if I have friends that say racial things against Black people or Jewish people or any Asian people, that's it. I'm done. Good, thanks. I don't need to see you anymore. I don't need to have any part of your life anymore, right? It's just done. And that's the bigger issue. It's like Jim Crow versus the KKK. I would much rather have some idiot wear a hood so that I can identify him and say, hey, you're a racist bigot. I don't need you in my life, versus someone who acts nice and then talks behind everyone's back about how much they hate a race of people. I mean, there's just, again, I'm not saying there's no bad with Facebook. I get it. It's a capitalist structure. They do everything for money.
But you're referring to character and backbone and integrity and morals and ethics, which are vital. This is not a but. This is I would add something as well. When you say, when somebody tells you they'll believe them, I think that what ultimately there are things that bring us together. And look, I've said this as well. My biggest confounding WTF moment this year is that this virus did not bring us together. And if this doesn't bring us together, I'm fairly certain, as I've said, short and second to those aliens, the bad kind, we are basically done. We're donezos here because you know what? If one of those, even if, you know, and I'll use the extreme example, right? That person wearing that white hood, he gets knocked over by a car and he's lying in the middle of the road bleeding. You would do that. You would rescue someone who was drowning. You would save a human being. There are always things that are redeeming about us as human beings. But this year, in this political climate, and with the weaponization, you know, and the politicization of a virus, that to me is the first time that my hope, positivity and optimism, you can go yourself, you know, because I'm pretty sure you guys are just naive, delusional. So, I mean, that's
good rant, Joseph.
Yeah,
good rant.
Yeah, no. I mean, I
haven't done that in a while, Mark.
Yeah, that befuddles me, because yesterday I was looking at the news and I think the number at the time was 2,500 so far died that day. And if that's not the sum total or a little bit more or less than what happened in 9/11, and so to try to ask that question and then answer it, I mean, is it because it was a seen common enemy? Like, I may not like you or you were a Republican, but we all have a common enemy in, you know, the Muslim terrorist, right? But then this virus, like, why didn't this work? Why didn't this thing that completely ravaged the world, was it not dramatic enough? Was the death sort of silently in the corners of the dark night? We don't see it.
Well,
And by the way, Joey, I just want to say one more thing, which is I've gone through this whole process and I can go to I've got tape. I've got the video. Let's go to the videotape. I've got the tape of every single time we hit a milestone, what I did and what I said, you know, and from, you know, after George Floyd was murdered, I stayed silent, you know, for, you know, what was it? 9 minutes and
8 minutes.
8:47.
8:47. Yeah.
I'm adding a minute, but I remember I remember when we hit the milestone for 9/11. We passed the 9/11 deaths, and we said, it was like a moment's silence for the fact that we just passed that number, and now we're going through it every day. And that's the thing, we become completely desensitized.
Yeah,
and
but I
that's when
also
we
think
lose
that has a
everything.
lot to do with leadership, right? I mean,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
tribalism of our culture has existed. There's been tons of books on it over the last decade. And that's actually what Mr. Trump did very well. He took advantage of that. And the friends that I referenced earlier on Facebook, they believe that the mask is some kind of political statement, right? And that's because their leader says so. And that's because their family says so. And when you hear that from your brother-in-law and your sister and your parents, and that's in the village in which you live, you believe it. And that's how important leadership is.
Joey, for a second, I want to push back. I want to say, let's not blame Donald Trump for that. Let's blame.
I'm not blaming Trump. I'm blaming leadership.
Yeah,
it's not just Trump. I mean, we had 126 members of the GOP say that the election was invalid. It's a tribe that is promoting nonsense and garbage.
Let's blame ourselves, right? Let's blame ourselves. Let's blame the fact that we didn't use our voices enough. I mean, it's funny. The desensitization, this is almost a topic that we should pick up for another day. But we've become so desensitized, even sitting in my, I'm sitting in my home office. I'm detached from reality. I don't see what's going on outside. I don't experience it. Remember I was saying to you guys, I mean, you don't know this, Joey, but like to the people that were on the show today, I'm just also dealing with the fact my daughter came home from college on Sunday, surprised the family. You saw that on the show. And she had a COVID test last Friday. She was negative on Saturday, and she came back on Sunday. And she had another test on Wednesday now to on the flip side, going through the airport, and we're waiting for the results. Her roommate, her flatmate, tested positive on Friday. I guess on Friday she found out. Now we don't now reality hits home here, which was in fact, buddy. No, but I'm saying I don't know whether. By the way, her roommate is stranded now in St. Louis. Can't go home to see her family. She's there by herself. But for all intents and purposes, my daughter is negative and I'm negative. That's not but the point is, it's like, we're so detached. We're detached and disconnected, and desensitized. And we have to figure out how to bring all three of these things back quickly. Otherwise we're doomed.
And I don't disagree with you.
I mentioned before the show.
I have to jump in. I just wanted to thank Mark real quick. I need to jump, but I've really been enjoying your podcast, and I just wanted to say thanks for the work that you put into that. Even though they're fairly short, they've been resonating really well with me. So thanks for that work. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much. It's very kind of you.
Guess what? Mark Schaefer is coming back to Corona TV as an official guest next year.
Oh, great.
You're going to have a full hour with him.
Do we have to pay the $200, Mark?
I'm thinking about it, actually.
So listen.
Great show. Thanks, Joseph.
As always, the after show never fails to deliver. I got to jump in. How about me calling it a call like 5 times? What the hell was?
Yeah, what's that all about?
I don't know. I don't even know why. I don't know why. I think I've got like Zoom on my brain. But
Great call, Joseph.
Huh?
Great call, Joseph.
Thanks, Mark. How do I cancel your appearance next year? But listen, I'm going to wind it down. But if anyone wants to say anything else that didn't get a chance to, please, take the last few minutes.
I don't know.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
It's Christmas every day, as far as faith is concerned.
Every day. Spread love every day.
I love that.
Well, thank you, everyone. And where's Bob Farnham? Is he gone?
Yeah.
He did go. He said he had to go.
All right. Nice to see you, Jen, and nice to see you, Jen, and and Ian. Thanks again, man. Like, I honestly
Ian, my
did
goodness,
not think you were going to do it.
a trooper.
To be honest,
Yeah,
I
thank
didn't
you,
think
sir.
I was going to do it.
What's the time there now? Like 5:50? No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's 5 to 6. So
All right, go back to sleep.
yeah.
Have a good
Bye,
weekend, guys.
Joseph.